Just before we die, our soul, that part of us which is aware when it leaves the body, pause for a moment, floating. In that state, it can differentiate, color, hear voices, identify objects, and review the life it had just departed. This phenomenon is called as an out of body experience, and it has been documented thousands of times, most famously by Elizabeth Kubler Ross and Raymond Moody. Each of us experience it when we die, but only a few have come back to present life to report on it. One was reported to me. I had mentioned it briefly in Only Love is Real. Not by the patient herself, but by her cardiologist at Mount Sinai Medical Center in Miami, a scientist who is very academic and very grounded. The patient, an elderly diabetic, was hospitalized for medical tests. During her hospitalization, she had a cardiac arrest and she became a comatose. Doctors held out little hope. Nevertheless, they worked feverishly on her and called on her cardiologist for help. He rushed into an intense care unit and in so doing dropped his distinctive gold pen which rolled across the room and under a window. During a short break in resuscitation process, he retrieved it. While the team worked on her, the woman reported later she floated out of her body and watched the entire procedure from the point above the medicine cart near that window. She watched with a great concentration since it was she the doctors were working on. She longed to call out to them, to assure them that she is all right and that they didn't have to work so frantically, but she knew they couldn't hear her. When she tried to tap her cardiologist on the shoulder to tell him she was fine, her hand went right through him and he felt nothing. She could see everything that was going on around her body and hear every word her doctors said. Yet, to her frustration, nobody would listen to her. The doctor's efforts succeeded. The woman returned to life. I watched the whole process, she told her cardiologist. He was flabbergasted. You couldn't have. You were unconscious. You were comatose. That was a pretty pen you dropped, she said. It must be very valuable. You saw it? I just told you I did, she said and proceeded to describe the pen, the clothes the doctors and the nurses wore, the succession of the people who came in and out of the ICU and what each did. Things nobody could have known without having been there. The cardiologist was still shaken days later when he told me about it. He confirmed that everything the woman related had indeed taken place and that her description was accurate. Yet there was no question that she was unconscious. Moreover, she has been blind for more than 5 years. Her soul had sight, not her body. Since then, the cardiologist had told me of dying patients who have been seen familiar long deceased people, waiting to take them to the other side. These were the patients who were not on medications of any kind and were therefore lucid. One described his grandmother waiting patiently in a chair in his hospital room for his time to come. Another was visited by her child who had died in infancy. The cardiologist noted that among these population of the patients, there were calmness, a serenity about dying. He learned to tell his patients, I am very interested in what you feel and what you experience, no matter how strange or unusual it may seem. You are safe in talking about it to me. When they did, their fear of the death decreased. More commonly, those who resuscitated report seeing light, often golden and at a distance, as though at the end of the tunnel. Andrea, a news reporter for a major television network, allowed me to regress her as a demonstration and described her life as a Great Plains farm woman in the 19th century. At the end of her long lifetime, she floated above her body, watching it from afar. Then she felt she was being drawn up into a light, in her case, a blue one, becoming increasingly distanced from her body and going towards a new life, one that was as yet unclear. This is a common, almost classic near death experience, except that Andrea was describing the experience of someone in a past life herself, who had been dead for more than 100 years.